there even if you adopt within the United States. We've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. But naturally it's complicated and becomes a lot more hectic as you go international. And the bureaucracy's on both sides of the fence. It's in the United States, it's in the other country.
What is the average cost that you experienced? I'm talking about now the cost that a family would face from the time that they have the idea that they might want to do what John Simmons and his family did. Travel costs, everything.
Yeah, travel costs, everything, hotels, meals. You're going to be looking at, if you went to Russia or China, somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000, but it could get significantly more expensive. If you get short notice for your travel, and you have to travel in 2 or 3 days, you're going to pay a lot more for the airline tickets. And so there are a lot of variables in there, but you're going to look at $25,000.
What about the adoption itself?
You know what? I never separated out the costs. I want to think that the fees within an adoption agency are going to be between $5,000 and $7,000, but don't quote me on that.
Now, you're not just an authority on adoption of children from Russia. You've looked into other countries and other continents, haven't you?
We have. As we decided to go international, we looked into a lot of different options.
What's the difference between Russia and Asia?
Asia is, well, Russia right now is very difficult. They've made international adoption very impractical.
Why?
Because they don't want these children to leave Russia. Russian population is shrinking by about 750,000 people a year, and they're very panic-stricken about it.
You know, there's a province of Russia, and I wish I could remember what it is, but it's not one of the familiar provinces. And the governor of that province has allocated Procreation Day for everybody. And you get off work early. I'm serious. And you get to go home and pull the blinds. And then it's timed so that 9 months after that, it's Russia Day. And it's kind of their big national celebration day.
Right.
And if you have a baby on that day, and it sounds like something I'm making up.
No, it's not.
If you have a baby on Russia Day, in that province, they give you a refrigerator, maybe a car.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like Wheel of Fortune in a peculiar kind of a way. But it's as a result of the problems that they have with their shrinking population.
Yeah. You know, Sarah, my 5-year-old, talked to me one day. She'd been home about 6 months. And she says, "Papa, I don't like Russia."
Oh.
And I said, "Really, Sarah? That makes me sad." And she said, "Why?" I asked her why she didn't like Russia, and she said she only likes America. And I said, "Well, that makes me sad, Sarah. I love Russia." And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, "Papa, why you love Russia?" And I told her, "I love Russia because Russia gave me you." And at that point, Sarah saw that she could love Russia too, and she was happy that she'd come from Russia. And from that point forward, we could talk about Russia without her walking out of the room.
Do you ever think about them going back?
You know what? I would love to see my children visit where they came from. I love Russia. I love the culture. I love the people there. You know, I was brought up during the Cold War, and anything red was bad. But I love Russia, and I've grown to love the culture.
But you love America too, and so the question must necessarily be asked, because I know that they want me to ask it for them, and that is, with all of the children in America that need the love of the Simmons family, why did you just stay here?
Again, we had one special needs child that we'd adopted within the United States, and he takes a little more time than the other kids do. We wanted to, as we got into it, we really wanted to make sure that we weren't spreading our time too thin, and that we could focus our talents in the areas that best suited the children that we adopt.
Is it difficult to adopt a child in America that doesn't have special needs?
Very much so. In fact, it's all but impossible when you consider the special needs takes into consideration all of the things that might make a child more difficult to adopt.
By the way, I remind you that the marvelous journey home certainly has to do with international adoption, but it's a novel. Give me a 45-second synopsis of the story.
It starts off with a fictitious family adopting or wanting to add to their family. They had 2 boys and they wanted to add girls, and so they go to Russia looking for these girls to adopt them. It also has quite an enlightenment in there, as I carried Celeste out of her orphanage and she cried for the woman who was a director there that she recognized as her mother. She cried, Mama, Mama Oksana, as we left. I thought, child, if you had any idea where I was taking you, you'd run away from this place and never look back. And as I look back at Oksana, Oksana was crying, but consoling herself in the thought that the child was going to a better place. And I thought, you don't get it either. You live in an apartment complex that's crumbling to the point where I can see rebar in the concrete. You're a doctor and you live there. You have no idea where I'll take this child. And at that point I wonder if that's what death is like. We're all told that people die and they go to a better place. And I wondered if we, like Oksana, couldn't possibly imagine the place that we were going.
Where is the book available? I'm assuming discriminating and affectionate bookstores everywhere and Amazon.com.
I once had somebody say all good bookstores. But it's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, and a lot of the smaller independents.
Well, you know what? I think whether you ever consider adoption yourself, that you're going to want to just take this home, read it, and then frame the cover. Because you just met John Simmons, 9 children, some of them from Russia, all of them loving the fact that they are loved. And, you know, I am reminded that my daughter adopted a child that is African-American, Cherokee, and French. And boy, I'll tell you, when we walk down the mall together, everybody smiles, and sometimes they're a little confused. This is Pat McMahon, AZTV.